Hello and welcome to Culture Cubby, the podcast that is not afraid to say Men in Black 2 could have been sexier. I am your host, Julian Sosa, along with...
Jared Slattery.
And today we are talking about Decoys 2, the second seduction. So the plot of Decoys 2, I'm just going to call it Decoys 2. There's no way I'm going to go over it.
It's going to call it D2.
Yeah. Oh shit, did I screw up the title of it?
It wasn't called the second seduction on any of the stuff I saw. It was grosser. Significantly grosser. I can't remember.
Second seduction.
I don't know. Hold on. Alien Seduction is what it was.
So this movie has a lot of titles. But yes, I saw the second seduction.
And I saw Alien
And
Seduction.
you saw Alien Seduction.
Oh, no.
And apparently it was originally called Rebirth.
Ah.
So that's where the confusion comes from. Not our inability to research things properly.
That's a different reason why we sucked at it.
It's a freaking movie! Decoys 2 has me saying, Decoys 1 is a great movie.
I don't know. I thought it was like only 15% more worse.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's, it's odd because this movie has slightly more consistencies, I feel like, but lacks a lot of what the first one had.
Mm-hmm.
What made the first one real special.
Yeah. Je ne sais quoi.
So the plot of this movie, blonde girls in a Canadian college are actually aliens.
Yep.
And they're trying to breed with men.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah.
That's the plot of the sequel. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
Yep. And the main character back, he didn't die. He was impregnated, I guess.
Let's just go straight.
They didn't even talk about that.
They completely glossed over the fact that his name is Luke. I'll say his name this time around.
Yeah.
He did not die, and he has no idea how he survived. He's talking to a therapist in the beginning of the film and just says he woke up in the hospital, and that's it.
His police friend nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I want to go straight to that.
You want to go straight? Okay.
Yeah, because that really angered me.
Yeah.
That basically this entire film, Luke is trying to convince people that these aliens exist, and nobody believes him.
There's already proof.
Right. There's proof of it in the last film. Not only was the cop, his friend, privy to everything that was going on, but also at the end there's a ton of cops and like medical staff and stuff that are there to like assist people at the wherever the end of that film happens. So I'm like, was there a cover up? Was there, because everybody's treating him like he's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
And he never once goes like, well, ask the cop from the first film. She saw everything.
Mm-hmm.
Never goes to that. Nobody ever brings her up at all.
Yeah. I mean, all they had to do was recast, because I'm sure no one wanted to be in this again. Just recast the cop as the psychiatrist, and I would not have known.
And I actually think that, because for the first film you mentioned that it would have been made more sense if the cop was an alien, and that would have lent itself better to the sequel as well. That would have covered up that part of it, because the only person that knew about it ended up being an alien.
That would be great. I think also that's probably what they're really going for or something. I don't know what they're going for. Let's just be clear. I don't think they had a plan.
Oh yeah, there's no plan, because there's a vague so outline. Much in this that makes me go, they weren't thinking about anything.
Yeah, the music, everything. They had Bulk and Skull music all the time.
I was going to say Bulk and Skull music too. That's just always what I think of. But yeah, it's like a lot of the music or the just tones that are used in this are like goosebumpy children's horror series, like completely the same along the same lines.
Yeah, it is tonally the same confused mess. Like, it wants to be a comedy, but it wants to be a horror. but it wants to be a comedy, but it wants to be a horror.
Yeah.
Like they can't decide, and nothing. It's not scary and it's not funny.
A lot of the comedy from the first one was gone in
Yeah.
this. Not that the first one was like overly hilarious, but there were some parts that I really laughed at,
Hmm.
um, and none of that was in here.
No.
Another thing that was missing was they in the first one they really wanted you to. There was no like twist to this, which is
Hmm.
fine,
Hmm.
but like they went the opposite way. And where the first one gave you no information, this one was like giving you fake information about, particularly the therapist and our, I guess, the new main character's friends,
Yeah.
female friends. The entire time they're like, "This is an alien.
Yeah. Well,
This person's an alien."
they're trying to subvert the expectation of the
Yeah,
first movie, and all they had to do was anything else. Let's get into the plot though. That's a bit just to go over it. So these college dudes set up a sports bracket to see how many women they can sleep with, and they some of them were actually work like it was actually working, and because like I saw the bracket fill up, and I'm like,
the whole game that they started with, like who can sleep with the most women, didn't
amount to
it
anything.
didn't amount to anything. And also, like, I went back and like I listened to them their rules, like, and basically they have all these pictures of women. Again, these are our heroes of the
Yeah,
movie.
they're like revenge porn.
Right, like, oh yeah, and they're recording each one, of course. So that's just what the heroes in this world do. And like, yeah, they set up this whole thing that doesn't amount to anything. Like, the only interactions with women you really see them have are with the alien women,
Yep.
who again are all blonde in this, and there's a lot of things in this movie that make them go, "Oh, they're supposed to be blonde."
Mm-hmm.
Like they really set up in this one in particular that they need to be blonde,
Mm-hmm.
which again goes back to the first film. What about the best friend,
Yeah.
who is brunette?
Yeah. And they're shapeshifters again.
I
They're
have
shapeshifters. They're able to change their clothing, but they can't change their hair. Insane. Let's talk about how his terrible friends. All of his friends are terrible. He's also terrible, but not as terrible as all of his friends.
initially I thought, okay, they're setting him up to at least be decent, um, and I feel like there's one scene that really threw that out, and that's one of his friends. Which again, another parallel between this and the first one. There's a character that comes out of nowhere that's
Mm-hmm.
like a friend of theirs,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden when he disappears, the main character, our new main character, is like desperately trying to get a
Yeah.
hold of him,
So
like as if they've been best buddies the entire time.
my terrible friend is has died. This guy, his terrible, most perverted friend, has died.
Right.
The worst person I know. Oh no, he died.
I think his name is like Nick or something, or no, Kenny. Who cares? Uh, so our new main character, they try to set him up to like look like he's good, but when that friend goes off with one of the alien girls, their whole thing about like keeping track of like sleeping with women is to like record it, and this kid zooms it
Yeah,
to his dorm room to get on the computer and see the sexual interaction with one of the alien girls. So he's not good either.
yeah.
He's not.
It's 2006 also, and that footage looked too good. He's like, that internet connection's so good.
Yeah, I wrote that. I was like, man, their cameras are better than ours.
I know. It's like that 3 megapixel camera really got it. Holy shit! God, this movie was a lot. The the bracket was insane. Everybody was playing ska music. That fucked me up. And the best friend, the girl best friend in this one, they've already established that she couldn't be an alien. Because they said we've been best friends since high school, and or middle school or something. And I'm like, yeah, that can't be an alien because they've established that they're not going to turn into people who look the same. Like they can't turn into people. They haven't literally established it, just functionally established it. It's not like the thing. It's so much worse. It's just terrible and bad.
Yeah, it would have to be like the long con
Mm-hmm.
of like her being an alien as a little girl.
Yeah, which maybe. And like the only problem is that the first movie only took place a few years before this.
Right.
So it couldn't be. Now here's what I was thinking. Uh I was thinking that it would have been more interesting to have the main dude be the spawn. Like this would have tied in better with the first one if the kid was an alien that was spawned from Luke. Uh, that's interesting, and it ties in a much more interesting way than everything else they tried to do. Instead, they're like, we got that same woman from the first one who got burnt, but she
I,
was a clone.
I actually had the same thought because they were clearly trying to add something more to that part of the story. And I did think that even outside of Luke, if they had male characters that were, yeah, essentially like maybe even teaming
Mm-hmm.
with the aliens at the very least,
Mm-hmm.
because in the first one, they really try to set up that the intentions aren't necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one of the aliens, the one that appears in this one, somehow, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure we
She
saw.
clone. They say it in there.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Why clone the one? Anyway.
Well, they were establishing that she was. Uh, they were establishing that she was still there and she knew everything, and she was in charge of these women, these alien decoys, like in a management position now. Uh, but they really made it seem like it was going to be the therapist until the very end.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I was convinced that the therapist
and then
was
they
was
showed it
one.
red. I'm like, yeah, this is a different one. They didn't explain the red either. They just said that the other one was a clone. This is the real her. And I'm stupid. It's dumb and stupid. Didn't need to be there. It seems like somebody fucking changed the script last minute again. Oh, this is what makes me think that the kid was an alien. It was because to subvert expectations, when the girl was in the girl was in Luke's dorm with him, with the kid, the new fresh Justin Bieber. When she was in the room in Luke's dorm with him, she opens the window and is like, "It's kind of hot."
Oh, she does that a ton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Yeah." Now I'm really convinced that he's a decoy. Like even if they established him, like they don't care about the history in this. They did the same thing with the first friend. They didn't say that explicitly, but that was implied.
Yeah, I think the entire time you're trying to give them too much credit, like
But it's just
when trying to figure things out yourself, you're like, oh, this is probably the path you want to take in this, and
yeah,
then the path doesn't get taken.
because I've seen movies before and I can use logic. I'm like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
What's going on? Like I'm trying to piece it together. Um, God, I keep on thinking of each of his friends and thinking that's the worst character.
Yeah, and they all look like varying degrees. Like the main kid looks the youngest. He looks
Yeah.
like he could still be in high school.
Yeah.
And then there's one that looks like he's like 40.
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
there's
kept calling him Jay Moore. 'Cause
yeah,
he
yes.
just looked like Jay Moore in
Well,
a beanie.
three of those white dudes look like they're in their 30s at
Yeah.
least, and I was like, dang, you should not be in that dorm with them. You're in danger.
I will say the kids in this one were smarter than the kids in the first one because they actually, or maybe, I guess you could look at it as like they were closer to each other, so they like believed each other more.
Mm.
So like,
Well, they also had more evidence right away. They had the video evidence.
right, but before the video evidence, one of the kids, he he's being like seduced by a regular girl,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
but she's like, oh, let's open up the window, and he runs out screaming like, no, you're you're an alien.
I'm just like, check the belly button. You could have had a great time.
He didn't have that information yet.
Ah, that's right. He
Yes.
didn't.
I kept track of that. I was
That's
like,
you're right. You're right.
do they know this yet?
No.
So I was like, okay, instantly one of the kids goes, oh no, there's this crazy shit going on. And he's like, okay, no, I believe this is a thing. Can we talk about,
No.
I want to talk about the new powers in this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two new powers in this at least. One of which, and they're both, one is ridiculous and the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And the other one I feel like just they say is a new power that never actually happens. The first one is the changing of the clothes. That's so dumb.
It's very dumb.
It is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Just conceptually in every way. Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, think that they have a full tech crew in the back? Like, okay, we gotta get the
Yeah.
whole wardrobe crew to be like, we're gonna quick change you in this forest.
Right, the whole concept is ridiculous.
Hmm.
But through the plot itself is unnecessary. Because, so basically, they look into their victim's eyes and they see what their fantasy is. Apparently, their fantasy wardrobe.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, their clothes change into that wardrobe. Um, Problem story wise is that they've already seduced these
Right.
men.
They're already
Like, they're
there.
already in it. It's not like, oh shit, now she's in leopard print.
Hmm.
Now I'm attracted to her and want to have
That was
sex with her.
actually a downgrade overall. I was like, this is a much worse outfit. You were wearing a great outfit before.
Yeah, that particular one, yeah, didn't look that great.
I mean, maybe that guy just
Also, it
has
would have made
weird
it
taste.
harder to have sex because it's
Right.
like a bodysuit.
Yeah. It's
Um,
to turn on the heater. What's that? You know what that is?
Nick
Yeah.
is the ultimate survivor.
Yeah.
He survives 2 of those attacks.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that he is he's the cousin or younger brother of the headphone guy who put people who's like, don't worry, in the first one who's like, leave a message. I'm getting laid right now or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like that guy's related to him. Even this takes place in Edmonton, Canada, or at least it was filmed there, so I assume it takes place in Edmonton versus where they were before. Uh, so I'm like, but still, I'm like, yeah, I would just feel like thematically it would make sense. You got this nerdy little fucker, and then you got the other guy who's put headphones on for sex.
No, I think we're thinking of different characters.
Well, no, wasn't. Oh, you're right. We are.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking of the nerdy kid. I thought he.
Yeah,
did
because
too.
Nick is the one that he's in like
Yeah.
the bullpen.
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah.
have the heaters.
I forgot who was where.
Yeah, no worries.
I
I just had to keep it straight because this is an important film.
yeah. It's important cinema.
So that's the one stupid power that was dumb. It was a dumb idea and it was unnecessary to the plot. The other one, Luke quickly says that they can hypnotize people.
Mm-hmm.
And never once
No.
did they hypnotize anybody. In
No.
fact, there's a lot in this film and in the first film that would suggest that they cannot hypnotize people.
Yeah,
One, why do they have to, if they can hypnotize people, why do they have to seduce them?
and then change outfits
Yeah, and change outfits.
or do anything.
Right. It never happens. In fact, there's a scene early on where one of the aliens gets pulled over, and a cop is trying to give him a ticket. She's intensely trying to flirt with him and kind of get him to leave her alone, and he goes against all of her advances.
Yeah,
Like, he does not waver from it.
like
It also cuts into the whole from the first film where they're like, oh, we only go after these date rapists and
Yeah.
these sexual predators. Cop didn't do anything.
yeah. In fact, he checked on her earlier when he was worried that she was getting raped in the car,
Yeah.
and said, "Hey," and he was creepy about it, but he was still like, "Hey, is everything consensual here?"
Yeah.
Is
No, he was a
everything
good guy.
Right?
He
Yeah,
was a good guy,
He's
and
a
he
good
gets
guy.
killed.
A little creepy, but that's not a crime. Like he talked creepy, but it was a good motive to check on this shit. And
Yeah.
but yeah, they nixed that completely. They nixed that 100%. I was disappointed that the angry cop didn't show up again, because that was a plot line that was not like, why did they call him Puppy? Why did they call him Puppy?
So, in researching this one, I came across deleted scenes from the first movie. And there's a deleted scene where one of the aliens hooks up with him. And the door closes. And I guess it's presumed that he died from that.
But
But,
you're a terrible cop.
yeah. Not that this movie needs justification for
Right.
not having a character, because, the main alien in this should have been his old friend Alex.
Yeah.
And that's who he should have been afraid of. So Luke, the main character from the first film, is constantly seeing Constance from the first film, which was his friend's lover that ends up killing his best friend.
I would say that she is the least evil in that movie out of all of them. She doesn't want to be doing this. She's literally like, I don't want to do this, out of nowhere. But she says, I don't want to be doing this. I've fallen in love with you. We just want to be able to survive. And I'm like, okay, I was like, okay, I could see this, and I could see a sympathetic side to this, and I could see why it would be important to maybe get the government involved so that we could kind of figure out some shit. Because I'm like, I feel like we could just incubate these
You're
fuckers.
really on.
Look, I'm just saying.
Jared's on the alien side.
I'm just saying. I'm definitely not on the Canadian boys side. Just definitely not in this movie. In these
Yeah,
movies.
the way they act, it almost feels like, because I mean, they say that they're in Canada, so it's not like it was filmed in Canada and they're trying to say that this is the U.S., but it almost feels like they're like, this is how the U.S. men.
Yeah, well, it's like American Pie. They're trying to do the
Yeah.
American Pie thing. This whole
Yeah.
thing. It's like American Pie but aliens. In
Because
fact,
it's
the
just not
first
what
one
I
too.
think of. I've never been to Canada, who knows? But it's just not what I think of when I think of Canada. These, like, frat boys.
I've met a lot of Canadians. I'm gonna say they're about to say, like,
Yeah. I guess
especially.
just for me, I'm like, it's too cold to party. The
uh,
way that they do.
yeah, I like to I like to think that it's just the mid 2000s were just a fucked up time for every place. The fuckboys were there with their puka shells, you know,
Yeah.
and
There was a lack of puka shells in this one.
there was a little bit.
Yeah. I know that you just mentioned the ska music a few times, and I had like 8 different notes about ska. I guess they use, it says local bands,
Mm.
but to me, there was different ska music throughout the film, and one surfer song that was played over and
Yeah,
over again.
that was wild. The surfer song threw me off so many times. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Like,
like
we're in Canada,
yeah.
it's snowing, the whole plot revolves around ice
So they
and
do
things being cold.
yeah. They're like we're gonna do a hula theme, which is wild because I'm like they just wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Like, why would you be there? It's just like not everybody's gonna show up to a party in real life, so it's just like their absence wouldn't be crazy.
Yeah. But my thing with that is it says that they use local bands, but I think it was one band.
I think it was one band
Yeah.
too.
It's either that or they got a bunch. There's just a bunch of ska
They're in the
local bands.
They're in the local ska scene
Yeah.
wearing their pork pie hats. Bam, bam, bam. And it's also a weird time to have ska music like that. And I'm not saying there weren't ska bands playing. There's still ska bands playing. But the amount of ska music in that at a college party was insane because I'm like, here's the thing. They got the apple bottom jeans. They got the boots with the fur. And everybody in the club was looking at her. You
Yeah.
know,
I,
there's
I
no hip hop.
I think use what you have, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't understand how there was a sequel to this.
Yeah.
I looked. I was like, was the first film successful to warrant a sequel? And I think I had like a $5 million budget and brought in like 85,000 at the box office. How the hell did this movie get a sequel?
Man's had a vision. Man's had a vision. That's wild.
Yeah. So, budget constraints. I imagine this one costs less to make.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, like when we were looking up the first one, this is the one that kept coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, was this one like more popular? Did this have like a period of time where people were really into this?
Doesn't it have a higher score on Rotten Tomatoes?
No, it's 1% less.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, or maybe 2. It's like 20. I think the first one had 25, and this one had like 23 or 24.
They insinuate that everybody dies again at the end because we didn't talk about the professor, who is not necessary for the plot either.
Yeah, so Luke, who he's like a teacher's aide
Yeah.
now,
Teacher's assistant.
teacher's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher's assistant. Why is he living on campus?
Oh, well, he's still a student.
Is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a grad student.
It's just like the girl. I guess he is technically older, but like when they're talking about him, they're like, "Oh, he's an older man,"
Yeah.
like as if he's in his.
And he's not.
Yeah.
He's literally 2 years older than them.
I was gonna say this movie took place only like a couple years after the events of the first.
Yeah, I'm like, how's he a grad student? He must have really pushed because he's a freshman in the first one, so he must have really pushed himself. Good for him.
Right, especially with dealing with people saying he didn't see like aliens, and
Yeah.
he's like crazy. So his like dorm room has like all his own drawings of what the aliens look like, and
But he's ripped. So, like, he's working out constantly. He's watching his diet. he's studying and crazy. And conspiracy. It's not even conspiracy. He knows it's true. There's evidence. There's corroboration. We know that it's real. So, like, he didn't need to go full. Uh, he didn't need to go full conspiracy board on that. He doesn't need to. We know. Like, all he has to do is talk to that female cop.
Yeah, I think that they almost could have even like played that a bit more, like him acting like he's crazy. Um, one of the few funny parts, at least to me, was there's the new student, the new female friend that we're thinking is she an alien, and he like jumps out at her in the middle of the night. He's like, Constance, like he thinks that she's the alien from the first one.
Yeah.
I thought her changing her hair color was weird because I'm like, you were already.
Yeah, this is a detractor.
I guess you were like a dirty blonde before, but I certainly saw why he's like, she's got glasses and she's got her hair, blonde hair. She's the same person.
Yeah.
I will say, like, if I was in his situation, I would get arrested for constantly trying to see women's belly buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that's another thing. So, they could shapeshift their clothes, but they still can't do belly buttons?
Yeah.
And one of them insinuated, like, towards the end, they, like, throw one in a furnace, which somehow this is the second film in this podcast, Short Life, that a villain was killed in a furnace or like an oven.
Yeah.
But they throw in the furnace and she's like trying to seduce the guy from inside, and she's like, I can be anyone you want. Can you be somebody with a belly button?
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Your one giveaway. It seems like the easiest thing that you can. That's just such a huge plot hole that they're telling us these women could be anything. They can even transform their clothes, so their clothes aren't even real.
Yeah, that's flesh.
And it's weird, but they can't produce a belly button to save their life. Mm-hmm. Literally save their life.
Did he say when she tried to seduce him while she was getting burnt alive? Did he say that's hot? Because I would have said that's hot.
No, but right before that, when they were using the hairspray weapons, the one guy gets seduced, and his friend comes in and says like he says something like that, like you're so hot, or
yeah, it's way funnier in the context that I'm thinking about because it's so stupid that she's trying to seduce him right then. I mean, in the furnace, it's stupid that the other one was trying to seduce the guy right there when they're trying to kill them, and I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And then they find the professor and a bunch of other people some of their friends, and all of their bellies start hatching, which is not what we saw in the first one.
Right, they were coming out the mouth.
Which is arguably worse, but it's not lethal.
Yeah.
So it negates the first, conceptually.
Quite a few things do.
It sure does.
Yeah. So, question with that. Mm-hmm. So these aliens, they're trying to... I keep using the word breed, but that's not really it. Well, the first one made it seem like they had to breed. Like, maybe, like, they were going in through the penis as well as the mouth to inseminate these men.
Well, yeah, I think...
But this one, like, they go... it's the mouth.
Yeah.
So something's going into the mouth to put these creatures into them. What about that makes it so that they have to be male?
Yeah, I know. I was talking about this. I'm like, here's what I think. I think what they're implying, if they tried to imply anything, is that they need the genetic material to produce in the eggs in themselves, so they can gestate that way. And that's why I'm like, no, just go to the scientists. Like, go try to talk to the government because they can figure it out. They'll probably experiment on you, but...
Well, I mean, there's so much wrong with that.
Yeah.
I get that it's not your justification. That's what you think their justification is. But, one, they're different species.
Yeah.
Like, they're from a completely different planet.
Yeah.
Two, they never mention that. They never really give a reason why it has to be men. My thought was, especially if you look at the first one, it has to be men for the seduction purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just the easiest to get
Well,
to.
they imply that in the second one too, though.
Right, but my problem with the second one is they also tell us that they can apparently hypnotize people.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we also are. I thought maybe they might get into it because early on, when they go to the club, one of the guys is hitting on a girl and she's
Yeah,
a lesbian.
it was so aggressively like unreasonable. It's like my girlfriend would like hard make out, and I'm like, and I was like, cool. They're gonna do women. It felt like they were leading up to that, but
Right, exactly.
nope.
So, yeah, that just didn't go anywhere, and it really makes no sense why they're only targeting men. If they can hypnotize people, if they could turn into whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing. Why can't they turn into men?
Yeah,
I get men are easier to seduce, but I feel like we were told that they don't really need to do that. So
they've only implied that they can shapeshift into different looking women or men.
well, they can only shapeshift into similar looking women.
Yeah, yeah.
Apparently only blonde except for that one occasion.
Except for that one. God, this movie's so stupid. Like going on with the point you just mentioned, they have the female friend is like, "Oh, you guys are trying to figure out who these aliens are, but you can't because you're men," which is weird. I scooted forward a little bit. I hope I didn't mess up the shot. So she was picking out all the aliens, and I'm like, that's insane. What you should have done is gotten a gay man because he would have fucking read them like filth. Like, she's fake, she's fake, she's fake in two ways.
Right.
She's just fake the normal way. She's an alien, she's an alien, she's a bitch, she's an alien. I mean, especially with the cliches they're already using, and it would have been kind of funny if they did have a gay friend who was like, gross. This is gross. You guys are gross.
Yeah, I guess that would be a very like 2000s joke to make.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole idea of that was just dumb to begin with anyway.
Yeah, it
like
was.
a lot of it, but
Yeah, I think they did that to justify why they can't sleep. I don't know why they did anything. I don't know what I'm trying to say. They thought of anything. I don't think they thought of anything. I can't believe they made a sequel to a movie that was already like a farted out idea. One of the things that really stood out to me was how awooga and doofy these men were. They're like, girls. Like the whole movie. Just.
yeah, yes. Actually, I don't think as much as the first film, but certainly like that's part of their plot is that the men have to be like absurdly horny.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they were. I think that they're because of the side plot of trying to have sex with all these women. It just made it a little more doofy for me, a little more girls,
Right.
because they were trying so often to get laid.
Gosh, again, kind of like the first one. I feel like there's probably a lot I have to say about it. A lot more I have to say about
Yeah.
it. But I have to really go back through it and.
I mean, I think we hit the point where we're like we've talked about everything that needs to be talked about. If you want to know more about this movie, you can check it out
At your local library.
Yeah, I mean maybe. It's $4 everywhere pretty much. So
Yeah.
if you like having a bad time, it's not even that bad. It's not a bad time movie. It's a good bad movie to watch. It's just after watching the first one, it really makes me hate the concept of this more, like the execution of this concept, because they established so many things in the first one, and they said nope.
Yeah, it's certainly one, again, both of them really, films that are fun to watch and kind of make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
I did think that this was not as good as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because the first one did have some humorous stuff, like real jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And this one really, you have to ignore a lot of stuff from the first film in order for this one to make sense. So that's why I'd say the first one is probably better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were both dumb, fun to watch.
Yep. I'd say instead, if you don't want to watch this movie, check out your local ska band.
Yeah, support ska.
Yeah. Bam, bam. Pick it up, pick it up.
But yeah, join us next time for Decoys 3, the decoying.
Decoy ning ning ning. Bye.